I get asked to speak in various corporate settings, and it'll be interesting. Some people say, I want to introduce work-life balance into my life. Okay? Or I want to be able to manage my work, my relationships, and my life. And it's challenging in some environments, given the organization you may work for, because most organizations in the world, 99.9% of organizations, are driven by a financial bottom line. And if you look at the financial bottom line, how much is enough? Let me ask it in the form of a question. How many of you feel you earn enough from your organization? And I see people shaking their heads, right? We never feel we earn enough. There's always more. And as much as you may earn more, the tax is more. All right? So if you feel no matter how much you earn, it's never enough, how will the organization feel as to what is enough? Okay? All we might suggest is that they earn enough, but they need to give us a bigger portion of the pie. But they'll give you various reasons why not. Okay? So if they are driven by the financial bottom line, and you and I agree there is never enough, we kind of challenge in terms of trying to find a work and a life balance, given that the financial bottom line is not enough. If the company hits its financial targets, given that the year end may be December, by around September, October, I've never heard of any company in the world closing down for the rest of the year. In fact, they probably will make you work harder for the rest of the year and recognize that the person that was at fault who set the targets for the year, they should have doubled the targets. All right? So that will not go well in that person's key performance indicators because their outcome wasn't good. Their forecast of the year was under forecasted. You agree? So what's interesting, there may not be such a thing as work-life balance, but there may be such a thing as work-life harmony. And be wary that we thrust at the organization that we work for, we expect work-life balance. But there's going to be some form of tension, and I'll say even can lead to conflict, because they expect you to work till 10 o'clock at night. Okay, I know nowadays we're all doing Zoom calls, so there's Zoom meetings 8 till 5, and thereafter you are meant at some point, somehow or the other, to do your personal work. Okay? So be wary that you're asking of an organization that's not prepared to give you work-life balance, because they're driven by a financial bottom line. And then you have to then look for an organization that may endeavor to work-life balance. And over the years, I've encountered a few. I've encountered a company where the head of the organization would insist all his staff left by 4 o'clock because he deliberately hired females who were married with kids, and he found that was suitable for the organization he worked for, and he felt that was deliver. And when he retired since, and one wonders if that company still holds that ethic. It's a powerful ethic. In some ways, it helped him a lot because he had people who would stay with him for decades. But that's very rare. If organizations are driven by a financial bottom line, they're not necessarily going to say, yes, we will sacrifice that bottom line for your work-life balance. So then, is work-life balance a myth? The only person that can create work-life balance is yourself. And what do I mean by that? As much as you want work-life balance, your organization may not buy into this concept of work-life balance. You'll need to find something that delivers for you the work-life balance. You may need to literally go into an organization that provides you with that work-life balance at the expense of everything else. And that can be challenging to find. If you don't find it out, then as I said, then you will probably need to create it for yourself. And then it means, as we may generally suggest with work-life balance, is that we work less and it delivers us more. And that would be working smart versus working hard. And that's why in this day and age you have books by, for example, The 4-Hour Work Week by Tim Ferriss, which is a bestseller, because all of us are wanting work-life balance to the point where work becomes less and life becomes more. And interesting, we'll say the newer generations are looking for that because you've afforded them a sense of comfort. Maybe the generation before did the hard work, the survivalist work. The generation after then endeavored to create a comfort zone. And now it's about, I will do what my life calling is, what my purpose is. I want to be the lead singer in a music band, right? And you're thinking of saying that to your grandparent, and they like look at them weirdly, you know, because it's like they were in a survival mode. And now we're demanding work-life balance. But now the youngsters of today are maybe creating it by choosing their passion. Be interesting in 10, 20 years from now whether they'll be following it or not, because there's going to be different challenges with chasing your passion. Nowadays, everyone out there can become a movie star or a music star. You have the digital platforms created for you to go and put your video out there of you doing your thing, similar to Robert De Niro or Clint Eastwood or Meryl Streep. Okay? You can nowadays compete with, what's her name? Sorry. I was thinking of this, Beyonce, yes, the singer, right? You can compete with her and your video can go viral of you singing in your bathroom. Preferably with some clothes on, it might go viral for other reasons then, all right? So you have the opportunity and create your work-life balance if that's what it's about. But then it involves thinking differently to the rest of the bunch. Because everyone thought the same, and we did what everyone else does, then it's going to be difficult to achieve work-life balance because then you're competing with everyone else out there in the marketplace. So it's either that we sacrifice and choose an organization that allows you to work from 8 to 12, 8 to 2. And yes, you will always work a little bit longer. Or you endeavor to create something, an innovation, a creation that allows you to work in a harmony perspective. Because then you've decided, what's great about saying I endeavor to achieve work-life balance is saying I endeavor to put my children first. I endeavor to put my family first. And I will endeavor to give up on career. Because all of us in this day and age are competing in the marketplace. And whereas previously, 20 years ago, 30 odd years ago, you could maybe get away with working 8 to 5, but nowadays all organizations are working 8 to 8. So in order to compete, you've got to be working those long hours because they're all delivering the same product by working sometimes 24 hours a day. So how then do you achieve work-life balance? And you have to think and step out of the crowd. And that's where the challenge is, but then it means going within yourself. But fortunately, there are the platforms out there to create an innovative product. Create something different. We are moving from the age, fortunately, of information to the age of creation. There's artificial intelligence out there that gives you the information. It's now how you utilize it in a manner that has never been used before. And yet, as much as that's a lot, it seems there's a lot of work, and we may be feeling that we have already been on this hamster wheel for so long that how do we step out? You need to recognize what the organization is about and see whether you want to fit in with what they're about or shift to another organization or create something of your own. As I've said in the past, you can do 3 things in the workspace, and I'm not the first one to use this expression, but in any workspace you're in, you can lead, you can follow, or you get out of the way. Very unusual for an organization to change for one individual, unless you're the CEO. So the whole idea is to recognize you're faced with those 3 choices every day in your workspace. And every person you work for wants you to agree on how they see the world. And they may see the world in a very distorted way. So if you work for an alcohol industry, your boss will want you to sell as much alcohol as possible. If it's locked down, as we're experiencing during this pandemic, and there's limitations on the sales of alcohol, I'm sure the marketing departments of these alcohol industries are having these major strategy sessions to recognize how to evade the regulations of the industry or find loopholes in the regulations that will allow them to sell alcohol. Right? If you don't agree with how your boss sees the world, that's going to be very challenging sitting in that marketing strategy session. All right. Various companies, when there was a ban on, like for example, tobacco marketing, advertising. In the old days, if you follow Formula One, every car had on the side some tobacco company's name or some tobacco brand. Now you never see it. So companies had to resort to other ways of marketing, what they would call black marketing. Ways of pushing the product in spite of the fact that they could not put their product on a billboard somewhere. Now you have to agree on how they see the world. So something interesting, imagine if you work for that organization and you're arguing for work-life balance. It'll be challenging given you're trying to push a product that ends up destroying people's physical health sometimes. And saying, hey, put on the pedestal work-life balance. The only person that can offer to you is you. And in this day and age, it's an easier discussion to have because the platforms are out there to create the type of work you want. And thereby, if you can create the work you want, you can create the life you want. Okay. And then that takes us to the concept of fulfillment. Fulfillment goes with life purpose. The reason we don't feel fulfilled is at some point, whatever we're doing does not make us feel complete, does not make us give us a sense of adequacy. And when life purpose is where you're prepared to do something regardless of the good or bad, the right and the wrong, the happiness and sadness, that means you're prepared to face up to the full spectrum of life and what it can offer. Because recognize when you chase a true passion in the name of a purpose, you will encounter all ends of the spectrum. One day you will be the best thing that happened in terms of what you're doing and the worst thing that will happen. But that will give you a sense of fulfillment. Because we are not just beings living on the right side, happy side, good side of life. We're also going to encounter the wrong side, the unhappy side, the bad side. And if you can chase what you're doing, given the full spectrum of what life can offer, it will set you free. And it will fulfill you. Something I must say, and we talked about it, is like at some level you may feel like your cup is depleted. But when you fulfill and you endeavor and persevere in what you do, your cup will spill it over. And when your cup spills over, it's easier to give. Because you are feeling more than adequate, more than complete. You are able to give to the world in spite of what might deplete you. Burnout is something interesting along those lines. Burnout is where you and I feel depleted. Our cups are completely empty. We've got children, we've got bosses, we've got husbands, we've got wives, we've got everyone demanding, and we feel depleted. But that's where the passion comes through, to invigorate us and recognize what we're doing it for. And that becomes like a tailwind which pushes us forward. And we also need something to chase, and that's where the purpose comes in, where we're able to give. So as long as you're able to give, your cup will be filled. You're able to give more than is taken from you. Why? You need to see yourself as the conduit for the universe. Because the moment you feel, I am doing it, your cup definitely will become empty. You will feel unfulfilled. Why? Because then it becomes about, if anything, fulfillment of the ego. And that will break you down. But if you're able to humble yourself, it allows for your cup, your mind to be filled, to achieve more. And then you become the funnel through which the universe can act. And humility is important because when you have ego, it stagnates you. And then you feel as much as the ego is filled, and the ego is only filled by certain things, it's all positive. Affirmations, acknowledgement, approval, agreement, admiration, award. But you and I know if you're sitting here, there's a lack of admiration, acknowledgement, approval, agreement, and award. You also might have encountered insult, criticism, judgment, and all those things are negative, and that makes the ego feel completely unfulfilled. In fact, the ego is broken. So what you and I need to acknowledge is we're going to get both sides. But how then do you deal with all that negativity? Is you must recognize that you're doing it from whatever you're doing it from a space of authenticity. That means you are true to who you are. And far more important than that, which many people I feel leave out, is alignment with what the universe wants. Because some of us feel I'm authentic to be the wealthiest person in the world, but I'm not sure if it's in alignment with what the universe wants. It may want you, if you are able to give it doesn't have to be financially, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, some will argue. And the universe feels that's in alignment with what the universe wishes to achieve, then in your authenticity it will deliver it to you. But many of us assume, okay, I'm being authentic, but what you're actually fulfilling is your mind, your ego. It has to be authentic to the universe. And how do you know? In some way, it's not it will reward you, you will feel invigorated and fulfilled and adequate. And sometimes it will be when the whole world is criticizing and judging you. Because at some point, if you take someone like Mandela, year 10 into his sentence, he wasn't like he was being admired, approved. The environment around him was torturing him, physically, mentally, and emotionally. Yet, at some level, freedom, not some level, at all levels, freedom is authentic and alignment with what the universe wanted. Because here we're sitting, and I'd like to take a prediction as to the future. We are very unlikely to go back to the days where there was lack of freedom. Yes, we will argue for more levels of freedom. Our kids and grandkids will be fighting for a different form of freedom. Yet he achieved a degree of freedom that was beyond what was previously there. In fact, it was revolutionary what he achieved. He was authentic and aligned with what the universe wanted. And he had faith, hope, and conviction, and I'll use the word trust. But think of it, while he was in prison, for those who were young people back then, we didn't even know what he looked like. We had never heard from him in the last 27 years, as in, because he wasn't allowed to obviously be anything of his material be set out in public. And because it was authentic and aligned, and as we said, I cannot guarantee you the door will open immediately, that you'll get the transactional, given you put so much, you'll get some back the same day. It took him 27 years